All right, June 1st, workout breakdown. I wanted to do June 1st mainly because it's the new monthly emphasis and it's 12 sets and go. Also, kind of just known as a traditional structure. If you're unsure of what that is I've always tried, I firmly believe in it. I've always tried to hit somewhere in like that 12 to 15 sets of whatever muscle group we're trying to aim for, depending on who you are and your capabilities. And then I've always been a big proponent of once you've done the hypertrophy and the lifting, we want to condition ourselves with that muscle. So our goal is to 12 sets and go. The thought process for you guys and on the programming side is that when you come in, the majority of the time, again, monthly emphasis aren't always, we're just going to tilt that direction, is that the majority of the time in June, we're going to have a first block that's going to be your traditional lifting, hypertrophy, weight training, resistance training, load bearing, and then we're going to move into something on the conditioning side. So a lot of you guys that have been with us for a while are very familiar with that setup. We've been doing it for years, and we're just going to lean into it even more. So more of a calm, relaxed start, and then kind of like take off and 0 to 100 following the lifting. So a couple of things. It's become pretty evident to me, and I think a lot of other people, as many people have made comments, which is why I wanted to talk about this particular set, is ever since the Urban Legend training, where people were very specific with their training, they've realized like the gains and the progression you can make when you're specific and precise is pretty incredible. And I've got a lot of side comments on since that training, people have realized they've gotten significantly better at certain things. And I just want to be here to say, like, if you guys were to take everything kind of that serious or that level of precision, you can rapidly get better at a lot of different stuff. Now, eventually that will plateau, and that's a topic for another video. But in this instance, obviously if you write this stuff down, it's the precision is nuts. You don't lose a lot of progression from like what I call like the slop reps. And what I mean by that is if I were to go into this and I'm trying to get stronger on biceps and triceps, even if I'm not, I'm still tracking what I'm doing, right? And I'm doing sets of 12. If I write it down, I'll know not only the weights I used, but I'll also know if I bridged. I'll know exactly at what rep I started to bridge at. I'll know if I failed because I wrote that rep down. And next time I come back around to tricep extension or bicep curls, I can look at that really quickly and just be like, all right, I got to 3 sets of 12, and then the 4th set I started bridging, and then I started bridging on the 8th rep. And it's just little mental notes that in terms of the value and the percentage of value you're getting, you're not losing those slop reps, where a lot of people don't write it down and they know that they bridged last time, but they don't know where that started. They don't know how many reps they bridged for. You just can't remember all of that information and data. It's physically impossible, which is why I've always been a huge proponent of pen to paper on these trackable lifts, anything that has a red T on it. So in this particular scenario, when you guys see these bi-tri supersets, like they're not really supersets. I think we've gone over that in the past. They're kind of like, quote unquote supersets, but they're super efficient. And just for clarity on that, a superset is when you target the same muscle group 2 times in a row. I'm calling it a superset because you're doing it back and forth, but it is tricep and bicep, which is an agonist and antagonist, and they have no play on each other whatsoever. So from a technicality standpoint, not a superset. But from what we're doing, we're going to use it as a superset. And you guys are going to use your normal weights because they have no play on one another. This is your normal weight. So the chances of them being the same weight is pretty low. You guys are going to use whatever you're doing. So this 8 to 15 rep count range, this is where the tracking comes into play. This is there not just to go off a feel and emotion. The point of this is if you've been doing 8 reps at X weight, then you're not going to do 12 or 15. If you've been doing 10 or 12, you've been trying to advance your weight, whatever it is, you've been bridging at a particular weight, like that flexibility in the rep count is there for the individual person, not for you to just randomly pick a number. That's not the point of it at all. Now, that being said, if you have no idea what to do, you can always go back to the 8 to 12 rep count range and start working towards your 5 sets of 12. Like that's always the ultimate goal. Once you succeed, you can move forward to the next set of weights and just work in that 8 to 12 rep count range. But I put it up to 15 because sometimes I do enjoy working on the muscular endurance side if I'm not overly concerned about getting stronger in a particular muscle. And I'll work in that 12 to 15 rep count range with that 1 minute time recovery, which I really, really like. So that's another option just for further clarity on that. But you guys are going to do your tricep extension immediately followed by your bicep curls, then take a 1 minute break. You'll do 4 or 5 sets of that, which again is a lot of volume. So don't go crazy if you're fairly new, if you haven't been doing this for a while. There's not usually a need to do 5 sets of each of these at the right weight. Obviously, if you lowball yourself out of the gate or something, you can always have that backup set after number 4. So 2 of those in a row, we're going to do that, which is a good chunk of volume in lifting. It should be anywhere from 8 to 10 sets on both your biceps and your triceps of heavy hypertrophy training, which is our goal here. And then again, following the new monthly emphasis, 12 sets and go, you'll do your lifting, and then we'll go into something that is meant to be more of the muscular endurance side and the volume side of things, which is where this row comes into play, kind of setting the tone, getting your heart rate up, forcing you to transition. I love the idea of an Olympic lift after the row, using your entire body, generating force through triple extension, and working on, again, just a more technical movement. Like most things on arm day aren't overly technical from a lifting standpoint. So throwing that in there puts your body in a little bit different position and planes of motion. And again, just a different way of generating force that you don't get on a regular arm day. And then you got your chin-ups, your wide curls, and your band push-downs. Again, just volume here. None of these typically exert a ton of effort, and they all target like different types of angles on the particular bicep and tricep movements that we're going for here, that these don't necessarily isolate. So that's my breakdown. I ultimately want you guys to see the monthly emphasis, and I really want you to pay attention to these blocks, especially in the month of June when we're focusing on this hypertrophy setting, which again, we do a lot already, but maybe this motivates you to start being a little bit more precise in your weights, so you guys can start seeing the type of progression that you want to see, especially on whatever lifts or body parts that maybe on an individual level you've been aiming to progress.